The manhwa kicks in with the bell chimes as the door swings open. Wearing a radiant smile, she greets the customers entering the grand bakery. While she serves behind the counter, her ears catch bits of a conversation between two patrons discussing the late emperor and his choice to lead no heir before passing. She listens quietly, lips parted in curiosity. The wise ruler of the Arvida Empire, Larkin the Great. Not long ago, he passed away peacefully at the age of 85. From such a remarkable sovereign, the empress bore 9 sons. But unlike their father, revered in every historical account, the sons have been locked in relentless power struggles. Our heroine admits she doesn't know the full story, but word is they've been dying off one by one. She exhales sharply. Power, what a curse. Just then, a worker steps in, announcing a delivery request from the palace, specifically to the first conference room. She tells her broom to get ready. It begins twitching excitedly, ready for action. Without further delay, she hops on and soars off toward the palace, the delivery secured. Upon her arrival, a man greets her and asks her to arrange the treats onto the plates. She claps once and gives a single command, dance. Obediently, the plates glide into motion, arranging the warm bread and sweets with practiced grace. The nobles begin their meal. She stands nearby with a strained smile, eyes scanning the room and quietly wondering, when exactly is someone going to pay her? Just then, the man rises from his chair and walks toward her. Her heart lifts finally, payment. But instead, he clears his throat and declares loudly that this is the one they've all been searching for, the last remaining imperial descendant and daughter of the witch, Raggy Nord. She recoils in disbelief. Sistina Nord, he says. Standing beside her now, the man continues in a serious tone, stating that he, Baron Horace Delafan, Chamberlain of the Palace, swears this on his honor. She blinks at him in utter confusion. What is this? Did something go wrong with the bread? That can't be it. The room freezes in awkward silence. She glances around, mentally willing someone to speak. She's completely baffled, unsure what on earth is happening. Radin, who has been silently observing, rises with a composed air, moving until he's directly in front of her. He speaks. If what the Baron says is true, then drops to one knee, catching her off guard, and solemnly pledges to protect her with his life. She stares in stunned disbelief. Radin, the legendary knight of the Empire? Could someone of his stature truly believe such outrageous claims? She suddenly shouts that it's a mistake. She's not royalty. Whatever the Chamberlain is going on about, he's clearly mistaken. Her mother lived deep in the Black Forest and her father was just an ordinary man. But Baron Delafan calmly disagrees. He insists that she is royal daughter of the late Prince Yurdian Arvida. The part about her father's name being Yurdian is true, she admits, but since he married a witch, he took her last name, so it's unclear if he ever bore the Arvida surname. Before she can refute it further, a new voice cuts through the tension, urgently asking what her father looked like. Flustered, she responds, brown hair, dark eyes, and extremely muscular. The man gestures to a large painting and asks, is he the one standing beside the chair? She squints, then frowns. That one? He looks scrawny and frail. Her firm denial makes everyone a bit uneasy. Meanwhile, her thoughts are racing. Should she flee? But there's a skilled knight standing behind her, likely faster than her broom. She urges her brain to come up with something, anything. Then suddenly, a spark of inspiration. She lifts her head and announces confidently to the room, she knows a way to prove whether she's truly royalty or not. Royal madness begins now, guys. She puts they consult Frine the Great Witch. Pacing anxiously in front of the mirror, she finally halts when an image begins to materialize on the glass. I am Sistina Nord of Lesso, she announces, addressing the figure forming in the reflection. Frine studies her through the mirror and asks what has compelled her to reach out like this. From the looks of it, she clearly isn't in her bakery. Flustered, Sistina blurts out that she came to the palace to deliver bread, but the Chamberlain began spouting nonsense about her being royalty, and now she desperately needs Phryne's help. The witch tells her to take a deep breath and promises to show her the witch's grand genealogy scroll so she can verify the truth for herself. The regular witch genealogy only tracks maternal ancestry, but the grand genealogy includes the names of their husband's parents too, giving her a chance to confirm the story. Sistina scrolls through the records until she finds her father's name, and with a shaky breath, she checks her grandmother's, Isis Wedden. As she moves to read her grandfather's name, the Chamberlain suddenly appears beside her, startling her. He declares that Larkin Acre Arvida is, without a doubt, the late Emperor's name. Her heart pounds. She blurts out, "No, that's not possible." But Phryne's voice cuts in steady and firm, telling her that, while it may be hard to believe, the Chamberlain is speaking the truth. She really is Larkin's granddaughter. Sistina freezes, eyes wide. She could almost swear she knows how her parents met. Her memories drift back to her childhood. Every time she asked her witch mother how she ended up marrying her father, the story always began the same way. It was like something out of a fairy tale. Her mother had left the Black Forest, home to many witches, and arrived in Lesso, the capital city of the Arvida Empire. That night, under a full moon hanging like a pearl in the sky, her hat had gotten caught in a towering tree. As she struggled to stay airborne, she fell, and her father had caught her. The moment she saw him, she said, she knew. That was her destiny. Her witch blood had told her what her mother never mentioned was where she fell the palace grounds. If her father had royal blood, then why did he live as a humble man, baking bread? As if sensing her spiraling thoughts, Radin gently guides her to a seat and eases her down. It's a good thing too, because what the Chamberlain says next might have knocked her to the ground. Looking her straight in the eye, he states that she must claim her rightful position as the next emperor. She gapes at him. Is he serious right now? She demands to know if he's lost his mind. He responds calmly, saying he understands how overwhelmed she must feel. But just that morning, they had received word that the last known imperial grandchild had died. Now, the only living person in the world who can activate the seal is her. Sistina protests. Her father may be gone, but the late emperor had 9 sons and each of them had countless children and grandchildren. How could she possibly be the only one left? The man admits it's baffling even to him. But they've reached the limits of what they can manage with just the prime minister's authority. They need the power of the imperial seal. She fires back that all she knows how to do is bake pastries and manage a storefront. Politics? She's never even read a law book. She practically shouts that making her the emperor would be a catastrophe for Arvida. It's like asking a 5-year-old to bake a perfect souffle. She insists there are better, more capable people out there. But they just look at her, eyes shining with unshakable conviction, as though nothing in the world could convince them she wasn't born to rule. They start nodding among themselves, pointing out how composed she's been this whole time, as if her ability to stay calm proves she's perfectly fit to wield the imperial seal. The Chamberlain adds with pride that she did graduate from Lesso's Imperial Academy, after all. Clearly, she has brains. With that, they announce that the biggest hurdle has been overcome and suggest wrapping up for the day. Meanwhile, Sistina keeps yelling that she doesn't want to become emperor, but no one seems remotely interested in her opinion. Moments later, she finds herself caught mid-escape in Radin's arms. Her eyes are wide in shock. The door swings open to reveal the emperor's study, and they usher her inside. The Chamberlain steps forward with a diplomatic smile and assures her they understand how overwhelming this must be. If she has any questions, she's free to ask. She doesn't hesitate. She wants to know, why did her father hide his identity? He tells her the empress died when the 10th prince was born. Since then, her father grew up isolated, ignored by his brothers. He was lonely. After meeting Miss Nord, the prince left the palace soon after, leaving behind only a letter. Sistina realizes he didn't want to be here. She then asks about the need for her specifically. There must be other descendants, some who married into other nations, or nobles within the empire. A new figure steps forward and offers to answer. He explains that while there may be other descendants, none of them can use the imperial seal. The seal is required for final approvals, and it can only be activated by someone of the emperor's direct bloodline. He explains that many major infrastructure projects have been frozen because they lack the seal's approval. She asks hesitantly, is it because such a large budget can't be authorized without the emperor's seal? He nods. That's exactly it. And to prevent theft during transfers, the seal has been bound with high-level magic. She realizes then this isn't about honor or tradition. They'd make a baby emperor if it meant unlocking that seal. Finally, she tells them she'll return home and think it over. He pulls open a drawer and remarks slightly that she's surprisingly composed. In that, she takes after her mother. Then he hands her a book. The late emperor left it behind for her. She can sense Phryne's energy coming from the book, so the man tells her the late emperor personally requested the Great Witch to hand make this. He doesn't even know the contents, as it wouldn't open. She is shocked to find out grandfather did this for her. Later, as they soar through the sky on her broom, Radin sits behind her. She asks if he feels sick. He replies he is all right and admits it feels better than he thought it would. She lands in front of her home and tells him to come in. They told her to bring him in, so she did. It's a good thing that she lives alone. Imagine if there was someone else here. She then informs him she is going to check on her shop and requests him to stay here for now. He believes it is dangerous to go alone and offers to come with her. She says it is fine since it is close by, hoping he picks up on the hint. How is she supposed to introduce him to everyone in the shop? However, he blocks her path and declares that it is still not acceptable. In the end, she simply asks him to stay hidden. When she returns, the chef asks why she's late and if something happened. She replies that the chamberlain was busy, so it took some time to receive the money. Ranapi says she had her worried. Sistana apologizes, explaining that it was a little difficult to reach her. The girl says that since she had her broom with her, she was probably safe. Then she asks if Sistana has eaten yet. Now that she thinks about it, it was so hectic that she couldn't even eat. Ranapi tells her she made tomato beef stew that she likes, and asks her if she shall fix her a bowl. Raiden lingers in her mind and she replies she will take the whole pot. Back at her home, they sit by the fire and she gestures for him to help himself. Now that she thinks about it, it's been a long time since she's eaten with someone at home. Her attention drifts to the spoon in her hand. It gleams silver under the firelight. Wasn't it wooden just a while ago? She's sure of it. He warns her to always be careful of poison. She scoffs at the remark, saying it goes way over the top, and insists that Ranapi is like a sister to her. She explains that Ranapi and Krates have worked at the shop since she was a child. Then, without warning, she pops a piece of meat into his mouth and asks how it is. Good, right? So they should just eat now. Later, as she heads toward her room, he follows close behind. She asks him to at least let her sleep comfortably, but he argues that it's a rule for the night to be as close as possible when on guard duty. With a sigh, she turns and tells him to come along then, leading him to her parents' room. Inside, she introduces him to a broom named Tom Iron. Raiden observes quietly, then notes that he's heard witches only ever use one broom their entire lives. She tells him Tom Iron belonged to her mother and that it remained behind for her because she couldn't find her destiny yet. He seems to ponder this and murmurs something about Miss Sistana's destiny. She tells him to just call her Sist and to take out the Miss as well since it makes her uncomfortable. He then says that living with only brooms to guard her is dangerous and suggests they return to the palace. But she jumps onto the bed and announces that she doesn't want to. She didn't even say she would become the emperor yet. Girl just wants to go back to do some witchcraft or maybe baking. As she reads the book given by the emperor, it says the youngest son has caused an uproar and left the palace. Even still, a shotgun wedding is too much. Confused, she wonders, is this her diary? In the book, she is called his beloved granddaughter, Sistina. He tells her if she's reading this journal, it probably means she's the last remaining descendant of his imperial bloodline. The things she must know as an emperor are written here for her. The emperor must manage the royal coffers and only royalty can take something out of the repositorium. He tells her she can leave the politics to Mater, who will become the new prime minister, and leave the military to General Tinket. He also tells her to make sure to get the oath of loyalty from the knights as well. According to him, ruling an empire isn't that difficult. Think of it as managing a bakery half as big as the continent. She's doing a good job managing the bakery after all, isn't she? His arm was starting to hurt, so he decided to stop there. Still, before leaving, he told her he trusted her to handle the rest well. She snaps the book shut and catches him staring at her, clearly confused. It hits her, he can't see the contents since he's not royalty. Stressed, she rubs her temples. Even her grandfather is telling her to become the emperor. She settles onto the bed, deciding she will worry about it later when she wakes up. With her eyes shut, she quietly tells Raiden that her brooms, Grand, and Tom Iron, will catch any bad guys, so he should get some sleep as well instead of staying alert like that. The sweet next morning, she jolts awake and turns her head. Raiden is sleeping on the bed beside hers. So it wasn't a dream. As she watches him in sleep, she realizes he's actually quite handsome. Later, while she is instructing Grand to clean the yard, he comes downstairs. Noticing him, she says good morning and he returns the greeting. She reminds him that he said he would escort her. Then she notes that since he already knows she delivers bread, it would look suspicious if she carried him around with her. He asks where the deliveries will be today. She replies Rant, Dulong, and Yulong mansions. He responds that it should be fine, which makes her ask why is that. He explains they all served under the previous emperor and were the ones to stand in neutrality during the struggle for succession to the throne. She realizes he means they are trustworthy, while he adds even so she should come back as soon as possible because he gets anxious when she is out of sight. She looks up, her eyes fixed on him in quiet surprise. He meets her gaze without flinching. She breaks the silence by admitting she really believes she should introduce him to Reincarnates. It is probably rare for anyone to have seen him in person, but they may recognize him since he is featured in the media frequently. He says if it's just about that and begins taking off his jacket. Then, slipping on his glasses and adjusting a few other things, his entire aura shifts. He asks, will this suffice? She stares at him, mouth slightly agape. Later, she brings him to the shop. Ranapi eyes him curiously and asks, and who might this be? Could he be her destiny? She replies no, she's not sure of her destiny just yet, and this is someone who was assigned to her by the palace. She explains when she went to go deliver due to the palace yesterday, she heard that her father is somewhat notable. Both of them jolt in surprise, and Ranapi asks, was her father a noble? She thinks a royal, to be exact. She exclaims, well, when he got married he sort of ran away from home, and since all the immediate family members have passed away, they said that there is no one to take over. Demanding what is going to happen next. She's furious that Sistina would choose to tell her something so important first thing in the morning. Krates steps forward to try and ease her temper. Sistina says with her and Krates the bakery should be alright for now. As for this person, they assigned him to her because it could get dangerous due to territorial or inheritance issues. Ranapi lets out a sigh and asks Radin what is his name. He replies she can call him Roost. She asks him if their Sist is really in such danger that she needs to be escorted by him. He replies few are currently aware, so it hasn't gotten to that point quite yet. She understands and says she will be careful then. Besides, isn't it better that he doesn't look like a knight? Though maybe he should wear an apron, just to be safe. A moment later, he is wearing an apron and helping them out. Later, she walks in with a plate of cookies for him. He remarks that working in a bakery isn't as easy as he thought. She admits it is barely running because of magic and people's help. She is also sure all of this would be nothing compared to the work she would have to deal with if she becomes the emperor. Suddenly, Raiden inquires whether the book was about politics. She replies it was just a diary, though he also did write about what to do in case she is the sole member of the Empire family. She asks him what kind of person was the previous emperor. He replies there were moments when he resembled an ordinary grandfather, but there were also times when he truly was a great emperor. He has always been proud to have offered his sword to him. Her face goes stiff because the diary was full of venting though. She lets him know the diary mentioned that Arvida would prosper as long as she runs it like she runs her bakery and asks for his thoughts on that. He admits he doesn't think there's a big difference, either way she's serving the people. And there are many who will help her make the right decisions as well. Hearing that makes her feel a little better. But all those members of the Emperor family are dead. That still sticks with her. They say that one will be cursed by Frine if they kill a witch, but she's certain there's someone out there who isn't afraid of that. And she absolutely has no aptitude for offensive magic. Out of the blue, she declares that she will do it, but makes it clear up front that she has no plans to do it for life. One day, in order to search for her destiny, she will lay down the crown. But before that, there is something she must do. It's getting interesting now. A few days later, Frine gently asks if she's absolutely certain she doesn't need any help. Sistina gives her a calm smile and replies that she believes this should be enough. Still concerned, Frine notes that while she trusts Grand is a powerful broom, it doesn't change the fact that Sistina is still a young witch. That's exactly why, she explains. After meeting with the council, they decided to activate an ancient spell one sealed away for a century and meant only for emergencies. Frine's personal curse is too dangerous to use lightly because it follows the strict law of a life for a life. So, to ensure witches aren't left defenseless, they designed a harsher method, the infamous eunuch curse. This magic permanently severs one's lineage unless they agree not to harm the witch. Signing this pact guarantees Sistina a base level of security. Frine reassures her with the curse in place and the strategy they've discussed, everything should proceed smoothly. Meanwhile, Mater turns to Radin and asks again if she is telling him there's no risk even though she owns 2 brooms. He seems relieved Sistina agreed to take the throne, but now a fresh concern has cropped up. Radin raises an eyebrow and asks bluntly, what's the issue now? Mater responds that of the 2 most powerful witches alive, Sistina is the only viable successor and more importantly, she wields Grand. Radin flatly clarifies, he mean the broom? Mater nods and explains that Grand is one of the legendary 5 brooms, equivalent in status to the 5 mythic swords. That it shows her as a powerful omen. Sistina is likely to become the next great witch. He's also heard that the role of great witch isn't something you can simply reject or pass on to another. Mater then admits, somewhat shaken, that the current Great Witch gave him a stern warning: Sistina must not be endangered, nor should her journey toward fate be obstructed. If he violated those terms, the Great Witch promised to place a curse on him. The memory sends a chill down his spine, but then a rare smile forms on his lips because for the first time in a long while, his greatest fear has been put to rest. Now all that's left is for today's meeting to go well. Right then, they spot her flying overhead. Speak of the devil, Mater mutters. Sistina descends and offers food to everyone seated at the table. The atmosphere instantly lightens as full bellies bring down everyone's guard. It was Ranapi who suggested she begin with a meal to soften up the council before negotiations, a classic carrot before stick move Sistina adapted. Once everyone's cheerful, she stands and declares that she's consulted the Great Witch and read the final writings of the previous emperor. And with that, she's made her choice. Since no one else remains, she will take the throne. Smiles fade, however, when she coolly adds, but there are conditions. Mater tenses. What kind of conditions? He asks carefully. She reminds him of the witch's contract. If her terms aren't honored completely, she will not accept the throne. They all fall into an uneasy silence as she begins to unroll a scroll so long it nearly brushes the floor. Mater glances at the list and mumbles, "Isn't this excessive?" Sistina calmly replies she has trimmed it as much as possible. If even one point is ignored, Phryne has sworn she will summon her back to the Black Forest for her protection. A heavy silence settles in the room. Her first demand, her identity including her appearance, name, and background must remain strictly confidential. Second, she chooses where she lives. Third, to avoid suspicion, she will continue working part-time at the bakery while attending to royal duties the rest of the day. On and on her list goes, until the 20th condition: no one may interfere with her search for destiny. One of the ministers objects, "But surely the emperor can't live outside the palace?" She counters firmly, "It makes perfect sense. If she moved into the palace now, she's convinced she'd be assassinated within a month." She asks them to consider, haven't the majority of the royal deaths occurred inside the palace? None of them can argue with that. Mater seems to understand until he spots a line near the end of the list and squints. What does this mean, continuing the search for royalty? Sistina explains that as a potential Great Witch, she may have to return to the Black Forest in 20 years. She's asking them to prepare for that eventuality. She also believes, strongly, that other royals like her are still out there. It just doesn't add up that every single one has perished. Though she doesn't say it aloud, her thoughts linger on the suspicious dealings of the 3rd and 7th princes. She adds aloud, especially considering the 7th prince's unusually active diplomatic schedule. Mater's expression turns awkward. She clearly knows more than she's supposed to. She reveals that many of Grand's customers are noble women, and from their chatter, she's learned plenty. With such sources and her ability to wield that knowledge wisely, he begins to believe she really might be the right person to lead the empire. As prime minister, he agrees to the terms. The minister of finance also gives his approval fiscally. The arrangement is flawless. The general from the military side nods too. There are far too many untrustworthy men around, so keeping her identity secret is a smart move. Sistina beam. Her plan worked. But then, Mater abruptly says, "Now, shouldn't they move on to something even more important?" Mater demands that she ascend the throne as swiftly as possible, prompting her to inquire about the coronation process. She's told that an official letter will be dispatched to all nations, and preparations for a grand national ceremony will commence. During the event, one of the high priests will place the crown upon her head, marking the peak of a month-long celebration. Curious, she asks which part of the coronation holds legal weight. He explains that once she signs the coronation oath and is crowned by the priest, her name is automatically entered into the temple records. Smiling brightly, she announces that she'll simply skip the ceremony. Her words stun the entire room into silence before they erupt in protest, insisting that it will hurt the sense of imperial authority. Unfazed, she counters that they must face reality. The current Arvitan government is poor. To everyone's surprise, the Minister of Finance, looking thoroughly thrilled, immediately agrees, adding that the chaos of such a ceremony could pose a serious risk to her safety. She says, as the wise emperor once said, rule the empire just as she would run a bakery, and believes the most important thing when running a business is to reduce unnecessary spending. She then asks them if she can use the seal after the coronation. Mater replies yes, she can. She instructs them to plan the ceremony with the money they have now, because if they use too much money, there will be an uproar. Even now, Projects have been put on hold in order to divert money to the coronation because they do not have enough. Mater asks how does she know the situation so well without reading a single report. She points out a document is still a written report of what they hear and see from the bottom up. Even the repair work on 5th Street, their biggest street, has been delayed, and a merchant she knows said he still hasn't received this year's tax fund. She claims she may not be the brightest, but she is not an ignorant fool either, and if they spend their money carelessly, their country will go bankrupt soon. The Minister of Finance declares she is absolutely right. Then with a smile she casually says he mentioned that she should ascend the throne immediately, right? They should get it done and over with quickly. He jolts in shock and stammers they don't have a priest now, nor do they have the crown. She asks the chamberlain where is the crown. He replies it is in the emperor's office and he has the keys. She informs Mater that time is short and requests him to hand the key over to General Tinket. He gently assures her there's no need for such formality with him, he is at her service. But as she turns to leave, she suddenly halts, taken aback. Raiden is standing before her, his head lowered in a respectful bow. She informs him she heard that there are resident medical priests among the knights and requests him to bring one of them. Within seconds, he vanishes from her side, making her think just as expected, swordmasters really are fast. He grabs hold of a lowly priest. The priest protests the injustice of it all. This is usually done by the Pope. This may be an urgent matter, but to ask a lowly priest like him? He demands to know of all people, why must it be him? This is too much. Raiden nonchalantly replies he was the only priest in the vicinity. Meanwhile, Sestina reads through the coronation oath, nothing complicated, just a signature at the bottom. As she signs her name, she briefly thinks how convenient it is that it's short. She recalls being told she'll receive a new, God-given middle name once she becomes empress. The priest approaches with the crown, visibly hesitant. Just then, she removes her hat and lowers her head in preparation. Flustered, he asks if it's really all right for someone like him to perform the crowning. With a faint smile, she replies she was running a bakery and now she's becoming the empress. It is not just about the status of the person but what they do. He finally places the crown upon her head. The name granted to her by the gods is Ryul. From this moment on, she is officially Sestina Ryul Nord Arvida. As her name is recorded, the scribe glances up and politely asks what name she wishes to be called. Without missing a beat, she replies Sis the First. She knows full well that using her real name would risk exposing her identity, and besides, history has shown that shorter names are easier to remember. Easier for whom? The future generation. The next day, the streets buzz with commotion as the newspaper seller bellows through the market a new emperor of the Arvida Empire has ascended. A few nobles whisper among themselves, still puzzled. They don't even know if this person is a man or a woman. The prime minister has blocked the information himself. He confirmed that all the princes were dead, so it must be one of their children. He wonders who the hell could it be. What they do know for certain is that he or she is very clever. In just 1 week they have restored the government to some extent, so they are receiving a lot of support from the people. The man curses under his breath since it seems that the dead emperor was secretly raising a successor. He wonders what happened to the assassins that they placed inside the palace. The other man replies more than half of them haven't been able to step foot into the inner palace, and those who were planted near the bedroom were also caught by the knights. They realize a defense so impregnable must be the work of General Tinect. The fact that they are protecting the emperor at all cost means that if he or she were to die, it would be catastrophic. One of them wonders, what shall they do now? Wait until they receive new information? But the other says they cannot lose this opportunity and they need to use any means necessary. The documents are stacked in front of her and she stares at them in stunned silence, wondering why the pile never seems to shrink. For an entire week after the coronation, she's done nothing but stamp official seals until midnight, the papers towering almost as high as she is. And yet, she admits to herself that there are worse things than the paperwork. As soon as the news of the coronation was out, assassins swarmed to the emperor's bedroom. It is good that she decided not to sleep with the imperial palace. She asks the chamberlain if he said there were 40 assassins caught so far. He replies, and they caught 5 more yesterday. Per her orders, they have placed them in the dungeons instead of killing them. They are receiving only blood and water. She then asks were there any that tried to take their own lives? But there is not yet. Master Long Dailong has cast an attempt prevention spell. She is then asked how does he know someone as eccentric as the Archmage? She replies he's a regular at Grand. He loves the walnut red bean paste bread that they saw. She then asks how is their budget looking. He replies if it continues like this, they might not have enough. How about allowing the use of the gold bars inside the treasury? She points out, isn't that the reserve fund? If they use it when there's a deficit but they have to replace everything they use. The Chamberlain says it would be hard for them not to use it since Her Majesty is the most frugal of all the emperors so far. They should only be a little short under budget. She realizes this leaves them with no choice and she considers thinking about filling it next year. She then instructs him to bring out a card for the treasury. As she inspects the card, she asks the Chamberlain if it will be fine. He replies it is sturdier than it looks and it's enchanted with magic to reduce the weight of the load by 10 times. She says it would be best to have some help, but since she's the only one who can enter the treasury right now, she will have to do it alone. She asks the minister if she can bring her broomstick in. He admits he is not sure since this is the first time a witch has become the empress. She takes her broom in with her and comes across a fairy inside, who remarks that now the emperor is a witch. She is Taka, the supervisor of the treasure warehouse. She introduces herself as Sistina Nord and the broomstick next to her. The emperor remarks her knowledge is incredible to be able to recognize Granutin. She leads her to the piles of gold, which she struggles to carry. It's incredibly heavy. Huffing, she asks if she can get some help, but the other replies firmly no, she has to do it herself. She grumbles under her breath, so many restrictions are in place just to prevent theft. As she hauls the weight, she asks isn't she bored being here all alone? The fairy yawns and replies not really. She sleeps most of the time when no one's around. It sounds suspiciously like she wants her to hurry up and leave so she can get back to napping. As Sistina struggles to carry the gold, the fairy comments dryly she is quite weak for an emperor. Usually the members of the imperial family who take the throne will train their physical health. She argues she is pretty strong and it is not like she planned on becoming an emperor. She just had to because here was no one else. The fairy acknowledges that it must be really tiring. Sistina says it is okay, but it is a bit tiring since there have been so many assassins getting caught. Now that she speaks of them, she wonders what does she do with all those people piling up inside the prison cells? It would be too much to just chop everyone's head off. Suddenly, something clicks in her mind and she asks Taka if she knows about all the treasure here. Taka replies of course she's the guardian fairy and also the supervisor. She draws something on the papers and shows it to her, asking if there's a magic tool like this here somewhere. Radin waits quite patiently and remarks, Her Majesty is late. The Chamberlain notes that gold is quite heavy. It would have been nice if they were allowed to help her. Then after a pause, he turns to Radin and asks with mild curiosity what does he think of Her Majesty. He exclaims she is stubborn but also upholds her own standards. She seems reserved but has a bold side to her as well. She is pretty clever but she doesn't like to show it. The Chamberlain admits he didn't think she would know a thing about power politics, but surprisingly she handles it well. Earlier he argued with her that it was not proper for a high-ranking figure to use honorifics for people below them. But she's asked why not? If they hold a high position, shouldn't they be able to speak the way they choose? He couldn't argue with that, so he settled for a compromise. At the very least he asked her to wear a dress while inside the palace. But she refused it. Witches wear uniforms that match their job and there's an expert designer for that. She declared she was a witch before she became an empress and she wished he would respect that. She also pointed out that getting a dress tailored made it quite expensive. She refused. He admits perhaps because she has been running a business from a young age, she is very skilled in cost-benefit analysis and also very eloquent. Raiden understands why Granutin chose Her Majesty. The Chamberlain inquires how is guarding Her Majesty with Granutin. He reveals there are times when it even views him as an enemy and gets him all flustered, and when she travels through the air, it is hard to keep up with her. He begins to mention how she occasionally lets him ride but trails off as she suddenly rushes in, out of breath. The Chamberlain is already holding out a glass of water. Raiden's sharp eyes land on the neatly folded white clothes and he asks about them. The Chamberlain studies them and says they look like something from a long time ago. He asks, but why? She retorts, what does he mean by why? Obviously to wear. They look at her with dumbfounded expressions. She smirks and declares those who are fed should work. Their footsteps pound against the floor as one of the remarks. He wanted to arrange for the prison to be clean the other day. The Chamberlain says he cannot believe she is ordering the prisons to clean it. Matter adds either way, it is not a place people can enter, so he thinks Her Majesty made a wise decision. They recall the conditions of prison and think they cannot keep neglecting it when it is this dirty. Radin remarks it is a relief Her Majesty isn't here to witness it since she spent so much time with a groom that likes to clean. She hates dirt and rats. The Chamberlain has folded clothes in his arms and he suddenly says he had no idea these treasures were here. Mater replies it is his first time seeing them too. The clothes are not ordinary clothes, but the official name is the Imperial Palace uniform. They say it was created for a chamberlain to properly order servants around to clean. The side effect of this dress is that they don't stop until the area is completely clean. Also, it is enchanted with magic to prevent escape, so it has been used as a torture device ever since. A prisoner passed out while being forced to clean in it, and that was how it was referred to in the history books. Mater says she definitely must not know about it. She can only know that they are clothes that make people clean. When they reach the dungeon, the stench immediately hits their noses. The chamberlain, holding the dress, remarks that he only brought cleaning supplies for one person today. As he unfolds the contents, he notices a number stitched onto the sleeve. Mater explains it's likely the uniforms were numbered to keep track of prisoners more efficiently. Just then, Radin drags a man out of one of the cells. Turning to him, Mater announces that instead of sending heads flying, their merciful emperor has chosen a different form of punishment. The man is forced into the numbered uniform, trembling as the chamberlain towers over him and commands, "Start now." He goes to clean the filthy jail hallway, his body moving on autopilot. The chamberlain watches and remarks that a single cleaning won't be enough. Radin chimes in, asking how long it will take to exterminate all the rats. The chamberlain considers for a moment before replying that while he can't say for sure, 3 to 4 months of steady cleaning should do the job. He then adds that although he had initially intended to give the prisoners only water, Her Majesty had ordered they be given bread as well, something he believes will help produce faster results. Mater smiles at that, agreeing, with that much food, they'll have more than enough energy to clean. Meanwhile, the man sweeping the floor looks in disbelief, wondering what on earth is going on. Later, the chamberlain reports to the Empress that using the treasure to fund palace cleaning was a tremendous success. Really? That's a relief, she responds, pleased. She even heard rumors that the rats are finally gone. The chamberlain confirms that the underground prison has become remarkably clean. However, he can't help but recall the complaints of the prisoners, calling the cleaning punishment even crueler than starvation or torture and branding the new emperor as evil. Her Majesty's reputation among the prisoners is ruined. The chamberlain steps up and says quite a few gave up cleaning and willingly came forward to provide information. Using that information as the basis, they are thinking of making complaints against the entities who sent them and requesting compensation. She's surprised to find out they hate cleaning that much and quietly decides they're just lazy. As she reads through the monthly salary statements, she pauses and remarks that now that she thinks about it, there doesn't seem to be a separate salary listed for the emperor. He tells her there actually is. Her face lights up as she asks how much. He replies, 1 gold coin. The brightness instantly fades from her face as she tells him he must be joking. He reveals it was 30,000 gold per year until 2 emperors ago. However, after Larkin the Great ascended the throne, he changed it to 1 gold in order to set an example of frugality. She drops her head on the table in despair. He blurts out if she's thinking of raising it, 1 gold is too little. However, she believes there must have been a good reason for grandfather to do that. Also, she manages a bakery, so she has no problem with making a living. She then questions who has the highest salary here. They reveal, going by net income from the government, it's Raiden. He is the highest ranked knight and he's paid extra for his job as an escort, and because he's a sword master, he also gets an annual from the government as well as for the honors he has received for his victories on the battlefield. Now that she thinks about it, the fact that she's been paying him a salary every month for working at the bakery seems downright foolish. She calls him over. As he leans in, she informs him that since he technically still works at the bakery, she will continue giving him a salary, but from now on, he has to pay for his own food. The chamberlain quietly suggests that she could just stop paying him altogether, but she shakes her head and replies she can't do that. His food costs more than his salary. In Laird Palace, the emperor shouts that if he had known this from the beginning, he never would have sent spies. Among the officials, another man lets out a sigh and says they ordered them to pay for the hostages, ransom, clothes, food, and every single personal expense. As for those who have returned, he's not sure what kind of torture they endured to come out looking so terrible, so he thought the new emperor was stone cold like a venomous snake, but turns out she is a 19-year-old witch. His Majesty remarks the emperor must be a puppet, he has just wasted so much money. But his official points out the knights, the chamberlain, and even the prime minister were following her orders. He thinks that must be a trick. How would a 19-year-old witch have commanded all of them? He thought he could finally do something about the empire after Emperor Larkin died. He has 2 unmarried daughters, but because she's a witch, he cannot even suggest a royal marriage. At that moment, a messenger rushes in with urgency, holding a letter from the Black Forest. The emperor reads it aloud, visibly panicked. It's a warning: if they dare provoke the witches, they will unleash a magic capable of ending royal bloodlines. The only prince His Majesty has is just 17. The royal family cannot be allowed to die out with his generation. Alarmed, he decides the plan must change and immediately summons his 4th daughter, Princess Nutesha. Nutesha stands just beyond the door, her long silver hair cascading down her back. Outside, snow falls peacefully over the palace, blanketing everything in white. A knock sounds at the door, and she is informed that the Prime Minister has arrived. She instructs them to let him in. He enters and announces that the 4th Princess Nutesha of the Laird Kingdom plans to visit as a representative of their delegation, adding that it seems the Laird Kingdom has changed direction. She remarks it's a shift from attack to conciliation, to which Mater responds that it is not truly conciliation, more like groveling, since Laird is no match for Arvida. She nods slightly, noting there's a difference between an empire and a kingdom. The Chamberlain reminds her this will be the first delegation to arrive since her ascension and that Princess Nutesha is likely to cause quite an uproar. She lifts her teacup, takes a sip and asks what kind of person the princess is. Nutesha is known for being gentle and full of grace. She is also very smart and she graduated from Laird Royal Academy with outstanding grades. He informs her she is 3 years older than her and he had a chance to meet her too, and the rumors about her are not an exaggeration. Sestina asks would she be meeting her face to face? The Chamberlain replies he's not sure about the schedule yet, but she will probably meet with her at least once. It's a visit from a direct royal descendant and there's no imperial family member other than Her Majesty on their side. Sestina reminds them the late kingdom has sent dozens of assassins. What if the princess hurts her? But Radin assures her the knights will stop her before she can. The Chamberlain asserts that it's right Her Majesty also has Granutin, so she doesn't need to worry. She admits that is true, but she wants to hide her identity. She can easily disguise herself, but what about the broom? She wonders, should she make Gran wear clothes as well? He then steers the conversation, mentioning that apparently they sent the 3rd princess to the Black Forest. He wonders why draw the wrath of the Great Witch by sending so many assassins. Sestina absolutely agrees the Great Witch is usually the kind of person who's usually content to wait and see. Her thoughts drift to the question lingering in her mind: why did the Laird Kingdom suddenly change their attitude after being so aggressive? Mater guesses it's likely due to the matter of succession. She quickly connects the dots: perhaps they are afraid of the curse said to end royal bloodlines. With that in mind, she declares that she has something to investigate before Princess Nutesha's arrival. That night, she studies a list of the princess's favorite snacks, cookies with nuts and soft pudding, convinced that food is the best way to win someone's heart, though she needs to confirm what exactly the princess likes. Just then Radin reminds her it's time for bed. She glances at the clock, startled to find it already midnight, then dives under the covers. There, she finds a soft plush pouch and smiles, calling it cute and warm. Radin explains it's a thermal pouch, procured with help from the Chamberlain, and that the outer pocket was crafted by the chief maid herself. As the snowfall thickens outside, she asks if he's cold. He calmly replies that he's fine. During training they often practice their skills naked in this kind of weather. She simply says then has nothing to say. She remarks dryly, before turning to him with another question: how is he getting along with the other members of the Imperial Guard? He shakes his head and says they have nothing yet. She questions how is that possible that there is no one. It doesn't make sense. He reveals as he was looking, he unexpectedly found someone with rare abilities who had other powers like helping locate a lost child. She murmurs that it's a good thing, but before she can say more, sleep begins to claim her. He quietly extinguishes the candlelight. Drowsily, she wishes him good night. He returns the greeting, respectfully calling her Her Majesty. She complains that she told him not to call her that at home, but he counters smoothly, pointing out that she just referred to him as Sir. As Princess Nutesha arrives at the palace, Prime Minister Mater is personally present to welcome her. Alongside him stands the Chamberlain, Baron, also offering a courteous greeting. Baron bows and assures her that they will serve the princess to the best of their abilities. With a gracious smile, she thanks them for their hospitality, then adds that she has come a long way and would like to get some rest. Lady Hathor remarks that it is freezing out there, especially with the snowfall, and assures the princess that she will prepare a warm room immediately. She says she will get her to a warm room right away. Once they reach the room, she adds that she has prepared the hot water and asks if she should lead her to the bath now. Turning to a junior maid, she instructs her to attend to the others, stating that she will personally take care of the princess. Later, Princess Natasha relaxes in the warm bath, her body sinking into the water with a sigh of relief as she admits it feels great. After that, Lady Hathor brushes her hair and tells her to take a look at the beautiful flower, which blooms even in the middle of winter. The princess remarks Her Majesty seems to be quite good at commanding her subjects. Everything is immaculable. Even now with all of this snow, the road is so clean that no one will slip. She is envious of the great power this nation holds as well as its capable subjects, especially the fact that a woman was able to take the throne. She thinks, on the other hand, if she, the Princess of Laird, had even one more brother, she wouldn't have been able to come as part of a foreign delegation. With young Set as their prince, she came here in his place to keep him safe. Of course she knows she can't change anything by thinking like this. Eagerly she asks the lady what is the Princess of Arvida like. Later, as Sistina examines the gift brought by the princess, she remarks on its beauty. It's truly a flower made of gold, a coronation gift to celebrate Her Majesty's ascension to the throne. The finance minister adds it is said that since the Laird Kingdom has many gold mines, the tradition is to give gold artifacts as presents. She looks sad as she admits since it is a coronation gift, it will probably go to the treasury. The finance minister says to be exact it will go to the treasurer warehouse. However, Lady Hathor suggested that it might be good to use it as an accessory as well. A spark of delight crosses her face and she wonders aloud, given its size, maybe she can put it on her hat. The maid exclaims. Now that she thinks about it, she prepared something specially for her. She reveals a hat that glistens beautifully. She admits she didn't have time to make the outfit as well, but in the new year she will be able to attend parties in which clothes more exclusively. However, Sistina points out she cut the whole budget for clothing, so how did she manage to make that? She confesses she used clothes worn by 9 deceased imperial princesses. When an imperial family passes away, everything they own while they were alive becomes imperial property. Lady Hathor declares her talents might be lacking, but she will do her best. Sistina asks, did not the Chamberlain oppose it? She replies of course he opposed it, but if they don't have a budget, they need to tear what they have down and use it again. She finally smiles, thinking now she will have a few more clothes in the new year. Lady Hathor then informs her the meeting with Princess Natasha will be tomorrow evening. This way Her Majesty can look after the government's affairs as usual for today. As she is done for the day, she stands excited. The general asks her if she's done already. She replies yes, she's going home when Sir Raiden arrives. Tynek tells her Raiden said he would be supervising the other knights' training, so it might take a little longer. She freezes just as her realization dawns on her. Now that she thinks about it, doesn't he have almost no personal time because of her? She points out to the general he almost does all of the guarding himself. Is that always the case? He replies, typically the Imperial Knights would take turns guarding her in teams, but it is a little hard to do that since Her Majesty doesn't sleep in the palace. She offers why doesn't the other knights take charge while she's in the palace? He replies if she wishes it then they will make it so. She admits she feels bad that he cannot even go home because of her. She knows Razin said he's fine, but what is more comfortable than sleeping at his own house? Suddenly the atmosphere changes. She asks if she said something weird. Lady Hathor hesitates and admits the truth is the palace is Sir Raiden's home. This shocks the princess. Lady Hathor informs her as she knows until a decade or so ago, wars happened quite frequently. So unlike now, there were a great number of orphans. Raiden was among the war orphans that Larkin the Great brought back. Although he was young, his sword skills were outstanding, so the commander of the knights taught him the sword himself. She asks where did he stay but seems to dread the answer. Lady Hathor replies it was a small room in the palace. He studied with the librarians of the Imperial Palace Library in between going to fight wars. She believes the first time he fought in a war was at the age of 14. The Empress jolts in surprise, noting that he was far too young. Lady Hathor explains he already had the skills of a top knight at that age. In honor of his service, he was granted a mansion and an estate. However, he really rarely went to the mansion and instead stayed at the side of the late emperor. She questions was the mansion too far away? But to her surprise, it's not only near the imperial palace but also near her bakery. She thinks about how their store is far from the residential area, with only one mansion nearby. The color drains from her face as the realization strikes Silver Sword Gate belongs to him. She questions why doesn't he go back to such a nice house. She has been there for deliveries many times and it seems like the staff were all good people. Lady Hathor admits she doesn't know about that either. She wonders if it's because he has no family. For a moment, she genuinely considers helping him find someone to marry. But the general interjects, explaining that it's impossible. The only command from the late emperor that Sir Radin ever defied was the one concerning marriage. She lets out a sigh and sinks into her seat, unsure of what to do about it. At night she offers him an extravagant meal at her home, explaining it's because they finally have enough money for proper food. What she doesn't realize is that the piggy bank she's so proud of is secretly linked to his personal account. She urges him to go ahead and eat, and he suddenly begins devouring everything on the table. Forcing a smile, she watches him in silence, thinking he really should slow down at this rate. There will be nothing left for her. Later, as they sit together with steaming cups of coffee, gazing out at the snow-covered world through the window, he remarks that it's snowing a lot. She supposes it is winter after all. Her eyes lift to meet his, and she calls him by name. She feels oddly pleased with herself she remembered to use his name this time. Then, shifting the topic, she tells him she spoke with General Tynek today and found that his workload is too large. She says she's planning to adjust it. His expression tightens as he narrows his eyes and firmly declares that she absolutely must not sleep alone. She blurts out that there's no way she's brave enough for that. While they're staying at the palace, the other knights can take turns guarding her. He replies that he understands, but his expressions turn sad. She wonders why he suddenly looks so sullen. Trying to ease the mood, she tells him it must have been exhausting escorting her all day and she'll come up with ways to give him some time off in the future. After a pause, he quietly admits that he's fine without any vacations. He says that if she isn't around, he will be too worried to rest properly. Her lips part in surprise, caught off guard. For a moment, she wonders if he's trying to act like her mom. She asks, "But doesn't he want to go home?" She heard it is nearby. He responds he thinks this place is closer to home than the Silver Sword mentioned, and he has already moved all the clothes and belongings here. He admits he was thinking of disposing of the mansion, but he's holding on to it because of the staff that works there. Most of the employees in the mansion are war victims. It is a meaningless place for him, but for them it is a home and a place where they can work and rebuild their lives. A hint of sadness clouds her face as she reflects it is a house for people who work there rather than the owner of the house. What a peculiar situation. She asks him if serving the monarch is the only purpose in life for a knight. He replies not necessarily, it depends on the person. A knight should also be kind to the weak and protect the family from danger. She asks him then what about him? What is the meaning of his life? He once believed that all that mattered was being loyal to his monarch. He says what she is asking is something different though. The meaning of his life that he keeps in his heart. If he really had to put it into words, it would be the Grand Bakery. Her eyes widen in surprise as he suddenly rises and lifts her into his arms. With a casual tone, he remarks that she seems to be paying him a lot of attention today, but now it's time for her to wash up and get to bed. Her entire face flushes deep red and her heart pounds uncontrollably. She doesn't understand how can Grand possibly be the purpose of his life. Birds are chirping while inside she is all done with the breakfast. She has a tiring expression on her face, knowing she couldn't really get much sleep because she was thinking about what Sir Radin said to her last night. She sighs, adding that she had this weird headache as well. Radin calls out to her, informing her that she looks tired. He asks her if it is because of what he said last night. She shoves cookies into his mouth and asks him how does it taste, trying to change the topic. He tells her that it's delicious. She responds it's because she used the finest walnuts. He looks at all the cookies and tells her she didn't have to make this much. She tells him that he doesn't know a thing, explaining that ladies eat so much dessert. He asks her if that's the case as she responds yes while passing him a bagel as well. He happily chews as she stares at him, noticing that he eats so well. She then thinks about how he says the meaning of his life is their bakery, thinking if that just means that food is his life. After a while she steps out and notices how it's snowing a lot today, so there will be a good amount of orders today. Radin also steps out while she calls out to him and tells him that he can go to the palace ahead of her today. He asks her if she'll be okay by herself. She tells him yes, she is going to put up a circular shield while flying, as if she does that she cannot have anyone riding with her. He seems worried but tells her he gets it. He states that if the weather gets worse she has to come by carriage even if she is late. After a few hours the weather worsens, making her realize that it wasn't this bad when she left. She is reminded of Radin telling her that she has to come back by carriage even if she is late. She wonders if she should get in the carriage now, but then realizes that it's too late to go back. She tells Gran that they have to speed up. It begins to shake, making her realize that at this rate the wind is going to take them in the wrong direction. She then looks straight and notices the office window. She sighs knowing she'll surely be scolded for being late, but before that a strong wind changes her direction. The cookies end up in the tree, but she wastes no time grabbing them back. She used nothing but the finest ingredients for Princess Natasha. Losing them isn't an option. Her protective shield vanishes, and as she opens her eyes, she realizes she's seconds away from crashing into the wall. She cries out for help, just as a hand reaches out from a nearby window and yanks her inside. Gasping for breath, she pants, stunned to be alive. Blinking in disbelief, she hears a voice ask gently if she is all right. It's the princess asking her if she is hurt. She touches Sestina's cheeks and frowns. Her cheeks are freezing, then turns to the maid to bring a warm towel and some hot tea. Sestina's gaze lingers on her face, catching the way her eyes sparkle like jewels. Realizing she must be on her way to deliver something, the princess grows concerned and says it's dangerous to go out in this weather. She should wait here for a little while.